Hey, we're back. We are back. I'm sure you guys missed us. For Adam, at least, it's been quite some time since you've joined us on a webinar here, right? It's been like 3 months since you've joined us.
Yeah, I was towards the end of last year, so it's been quite a break for me.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I have a cat down here meowing. So, joys of live television. So, guys, thank you so much for coming back and entertaining us once again. We are dealing with a little bit of weather issues in Australia, but I think we're in the clear, right, Adam?
We should be good for about an hour, yeah.
Okay, we have an hour to chat. So, we have a lot to go over today. You guys submitted so many awesome questions this time. I'm blown away with the relevancy of the questions that were submitted. So we're super, super happy. If any of my WooRank buddies can just let us know in the comments that you can hear us, you can see us, everything's cool. Before we get to the questions though, we do want to quickly go over something that we hear a lot about from our WooRank customers, canonical tags. Now, canonical tags are super important. Adam is going to tell us why. We also just recently added a new criteria within your review. So if you are a WooRank subscriber and you review your website, you'll notice that we now have the canonical tags criteria. This is really important. And Adam, I would love for you to explain why. So go right ahead.
Great, thank you. Okay. Look, a lot of people talk about canonical tags, and it tends to be made, I just saw your cat. It tends to be made a lot harder and more complicated than it actually is. It's got a really complicated name, canonical. It takes some practice to even say it. So let's just break it down into really simple terms. I would rather that you think of canonicals as a way to manage duplicate content. There's lots of different ways to explain it, but I think that's probably one of the simplest ways. So a canonical tag is a piece of HTML. It's a piece of code that goes into your website or it goes into your CMS. I'll give some examples at the end. And it tells Google that if you have content pages that are identical, and this can happen with your root domain. It can happen with especially if you're using WordPress and you've got blogs that show up on the same blog shows up on multiple URLs. This will tell Google basically not to split the link authority that's going to 2 pages, but rather to go to the one. So it's a way of managing duplicate content without having to use a redirect. And the reason you might not want to use a redirect is because you might legitimately have content in 2 places that make sense. For example, you might have your domain /guide/canonicals, and that's a guide all about canonicals. But you might also have that same guide in another place, just under a different URL for different reasons. You don't necessarily want to redirect it. You don't want to, get rid of the other content, but you want Google to know, and in fact all the search engines, that one or the other is the primary URL. So canonicals are a way for you to manage that. It's actually really simple to implement. We've got a couple of guides that we can, that Courtney will better share. There's a guide on WooRank. We've also got a guide that's on the Yoast website, which I find is really useful, especially if you use WordPress, because that is obviously specific to that model. And for the more techie inclined people, we've also got a great link from the developers Google website. But one thing I wanted to touch on, I don't want to go too much into the implementation, is just why else should you be using canonicals? Couple of tips. It's recommended that you use canonicals on every single page of your website. So even if you don't have duplicates, then have a canonical on each page that references itself. And that's called a self-referencing canonical tag. So it's a mouthful. And in the same way, I've seen some people use this tool in a negative way. So what you need to be careful about is overusing it. If you have 2 pieces of content and They're exactly the same, but the only thing that's different is maybe the currency, because you've got one document in, US dollars and one in Australian dollars. That's a good time to use a canonical tag. But if the content is different, if the context is different for each of those articles, then you don't actually want to split them up, and you want to have them both register and get indexed on Google. So it's kind of a hard concept to get across in just a few minutes, but hopefully with that overview, and with some of those guides, you guys will be on your way.
Definitely. And, as always, I have to do my WooRank plugs. These are things that you can really easily check in the WooRank tool. So page by page, by doing your internal page reviews, you can make sure that those are set up correctly. Or if you're like me and you don't have the time or the patience to look at every page individually, just head over to the site crawl. The site crawl will crawl every single one of your pages and let you know if everything is all okay. We're getting some familiar faces in the chat. Hey, Beach Marketing. Hey, West End Gallery. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. So I know a lot of you are waiting for me to give you the secret password. If you have been paying attention to our emails, I decided to do something a little bit fun and celebrate, I guess, the new year and just being out of 2020 by giving out some prizes. So secret password, you have to email me this password by February 4th. So a week from today, email me the password and you will get a special prize depending on how you spell canonical. That's the password, canonical. So your spelling will count, and bonus points if you can give me a brief synopsis of what Adam just said. So I'm just gonna put it up on the screen here. The password is canonical, and so we'll add that to the broadcast. Password, canonical, and then email me directly, Courtney@WooRank.com. Pretty easy to remember. So you have until February 4th to claim your prize. I'm not going to give it away and let you know what the prize is. You have to go that extra step. So not like, this isn't worth it, I'm not going to email her. No, email me and then you figure out what the prize is. All right, so let's get down to the questions, especially if you guys have questions about canonical tags, which everyone does. I still do, of course. Please put those into the live chat. We'll try to get to as many live questions as we have. But as I said before, so many of you pre-submitted some really, really interesting questions. So I'm eager to get to them. Now, first question for Adam comes from Pete O'Connor. Pete is already ranking for some of his target keywords like carpet cleaning in a specific area of Tennessee. But he wants to know what to do to rank for any additional keywords, like any other kind of iterations of carpet cleaning. What can he do for that?
Oh, okay. Well, great that you're already ranking for some keywords. I mean, that goes without saying, because that's actually a tough thing to rank for a competitive term in a competitive market. So well done. And the fact that you are already ranking will make this a whole lot easier for you. So the first thing I would be doing is checking with Google Search Console. What I'd want to see is filter your keywords, type in, carpet, any search term that includes carpet, and just have a look at some of the other keyword variations and where you currently rank, so that you get an understanding, this one I'm ranking on page 2 or page 5. This will help you kind of, first of all, select a couple of targets, because obviously what you want to do is get the ones that are easiest to get, the ones that are closer to page 1 first. So go for the low-hanging fruit. So what you might find is that, for example, and I'm just going to make something up, carpet cleaning, Clarksville, as opposed to carpet cleaning Tennessee, or you might be carpet steam cleaning and those kind of things. So variations of either the term, which is the product, or the geography. And once you've found the closest match in Search Console, that's your target keyword. So what do you do with that target keyword? Really straightforward, and this is my answer to a lot of these types of questions. How do I rank for? You need to make content. You need to produce content that's quality, that's unique, that's not copy and pasted from the carpet cleaning page, but new content that includes the new keyword that you want to essentially rank for. all things aside, I'm going to assume that your technical SEO is pretty good already since you're ranking for these other keywords. So for you, it should be really, really straightforward, quite easy to rank for additional keywords with the production of good quality content.
Right, and I have to put my marketing hat on, as always. Another idea for you would be definitely to go into the WooRank keyword tool. And this is something I like to tell a lot of my own customers, that when you're looking at something really broad, like carpet cleaning, a lot of the times when you click into that keyword, you'll have the additional features like people also ask and related searches. The people also ask area is a great place to look for new blog ideas, because sometimes people are like looking for carpet cleaning, but they also want to know, how do I get red wine out of a white carpet? And you could do a quick little blog post about that and get even more traffic for people who are looking for specific answers. All right.
Perfect.
So next question is coming from Tujidome, and he wants to know, he's ranking or trying to rank a new business, launching a new business with like an educational system or educational center. But anyway, I guess the answer will really apply to anybody who's launching a new business. So what should his first steps be launching a new business?
Okay. Well, congratulations and good luck on launching your new business. I would really follow the golden sort of checklist that I always tell people at workshops and when I'm talking about ranking a new site. First thing you want to do, install Google Analytics. Even if you never use it, even if you don't plan on using it, install it at the very start, or ask your web developer to have it installed. This is going to help you when you eventually do decide to use it in a really big way. And that said, I would also install Google Analytics 4, side by side, run them together. Set up Search Console, obviously, for your website. Then once you got your sort of basic tools in place, I would then start to, I guess, you're going to start with your technical optimization. So review each page on your website. And I'll say this a couple of times tonight, but SEO is about web page optimization, not so much a website optimization. The sum total of your site is from all the pages. So start working through your core pages, your landing pages, your home page, your product pages, the really, really important ones. Make sure that everything checks out, the simple stuff, title tags, meta tags, that you have headings in the correct spot. And then after the technical, you'll start looking at your performance. In particular, you'll be wanting to keep an eye on to make sure that your site's being indexed. If it's not indexed, find out why, submit a sitemap. They're probably my very first steps to do. And then, before I started like looking at the content and then optimizing the content, I would make sure that the technical stuff is done first.
Yes, very good advice. Okay, so the next one is coming from Alan Wallace. Alan wants to know, what is the best way to improve your SEO in 2021? Are we thinking video, podcasts, photos, maybe reverting back to some old school techniques? What should Alan do this year?
All right, well, look, 2021 will be remembered for, in the digital world at least, for web vitals, core web vitals. So just remember those 3 words, core web vitals. Find out as much as you can about core web vitals, because in May this year, there's going to be a major update to the Google algorithm. And core web vitals essentially focuses on experience and usability. And these are the kind of touchy-feeling aspects of SEO that SEO guys, we don't really normally like to go down this path. We like black and white, ones and zeros. But Core Web Vitals is going to be, looking at things that affect the user experience of your website. Like, does it shift around when it loads, or is it stable? Does it design kind of chop and change when you're scrolling down on a phone? And then, of course, how long does it take to load? How long does it take until it's ready for you to start inputting your first bit of information and, to actually interact with the website? So all this kind of stuff is going to be big in 2021. And, we're already preparing for it internally. So yeah, if you're a customer of ours, you're going to be hearing a lot more about Core Web Vitals in the coming months.
Yeah, I'd say that's an understatement. We are going to be absolutely hammering you with facts and figures, and definitely the focus of the Core Web Vitals is going to be massive for us at WooRank. We are going to be publishing a blog post actually tomorrow to start easing you in. That's what we like to do at WooRank. We like to ease you into these major shifts, and definitely the fact that Google even told us that this is happening is like they never tell us about anything. So this is, that alone should tell you how important this is. So we are going to be definitely focusing on that at WooRank with our content, with our webinars. If you're not already signed up for our newsletters, then please sign up, because like I said, Google telling us this is happening means that you need to know this is happening. So stay tuned. I think our next month's webinar is going to deal a lot with Core Web Vitals as well. So that's my marketing plug. You know, when I unmute my microphone, you're going to hear about marketing. So. All right, Alan, I hope that answered your question. So next up is Kim. Kim has a new e-commerce website and wants to start marketing it. Also not super sure how to begin, also needs to set up shipping. So the whole shebang. What does Kim need to do? What are her first steps, especially with the e-commerce in focus?
Okay. Well, I'm have to make an assumption here that you're using one of the more, the sort of modern e-commerce platforms that are available. Most of these, I don't have to name them. I mean, but there's a bunch of them that most of you should probably know about. But they will already have kind of most of the, I'm not going to say tools, but most of the functionality for you to be able to do some good SEO with. Some of the older platforms aren't so good with SEO. SEO really only kind of merged with e-commerce really only in the last couple of years has it become really tight. And so now you can actually focus on really important stuff. For example, e-commerce, one of the most important things is the image quality, but also the size of that image. So while you're trying to sell, for example, candles, you might have a lovely photo of a candle, but if it's 2 megabits in size, then that's going to be a problem, especially on an e-commerce site. So content and image quality and care with your image, image sizes, making sure all the images are the same, the same ratio. Are they going to be 4:3, or are they going to be a perfect square? This is the sort of thing to really pay attention to. I can't overstate that enough. I would then, obviously, the user experience and site performance is a big one. Again, if you're using a modern e-commerce platform, they're going to take care of most of that for you. So you're not going to really have to worry about website, like technical performance and that kind of thing, which would be great. Also, mobile friendly. I'm just thinking of the last couple of things I bought online, and I did it on my phone. And I remember, the first website, a local retailer here, again, won't mention who they were, but really bad website. And I was just like, well, I'll try the other guys. And they had a great website that worked on my mobile. So I used that one. And that was the only decision-making process that affected it, was which website worked better, which was easier to use. So really focus on that mobile usability, easy payment systems, offer lots of payment, I guess definitely offer PayPal, credit card, those kinds of options. But look, to talk about the shipping, this is something you probably need to talk more to your provider about, because we could do a whole segment just on shipping, but shipping can be very expensive, especially if you are selling candles, because you might not be getting much money per candle, but the shipping is quite expensive. So that's kind of a different subject. Shipping can be tricky, but yeah, I'd be focusing on getting all the other stuff right first, selling as much of your product as you can, and work with your provider, your CMS provider, on the shipping side.
Yeah, for sure. And if anybody's been, quarantine buying the way I've been quarantine buying, it's definitely good to get your e-commerce site up to scratch. Just to piggyback as well, I do want to make sure that we're all learning the canonical lesson this webinar. Something to really pay attention to when you have an e-commerce site. Like, let's say, for example, Kim was selling red turtlenecks. Now she probably has a page, red turtleneck, and then you filter it to size small, size medium, color red. All of those are going to have kind of the same product description. Google might misinterpret that as all being the same content and flag you for duplicate content. But what is the way to fix that? All together, class? Canonical tags. Canonical tags can be used to fix that, especially on an e-commerce site if you're filtering by color,
Absolutely.
or by size, or things like that.
Canonicalization.
Yes, canonicalization. Say that 3 times fast. That's not the password though. But if you do, I'll give you partial credit if you email me canonicalization. So we have a live question from our buddies at Beach Marketing. So Beach Marketing used Yoast and Rank Math as SEO plugins. Do you have any views on these or others that work really well with WordPress specifically?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Look, yes, I've used WordPress a lot in my years, and I've run lots of websites myself using WordPress. And I remember when it first came out. Yoast in particular is a really solid plugin, even at the free, the entry-level free version of the product. It's really good. It points you in all the right directions. I have nothing negative to say about Yoast other than, I guess, one, and it's not negative, but it's by design, Yoast is an arbitrary program. It has been programmed. It has been told, to follow best practice advice. But when it comes to your keywords and your content, this is, and ask any SEO person, but this is the hardest part of SEO to automate. And so what Yoast does is it basically, reads your content, asks you for what your keyword is, and then it'll say something like, you've used this keyword 6 times, which is 5% density, which is good or bad. But really, that kind of calculation shouldn't be performed arbitrarily, because you really need to kind of look beyond that, look beyond keyword densities, look beyond making sure you have the keyword in every single different spot on the page, and really look to the overall quality of the content. And if we talk about e-commerce again, making sure that that content is selling your product. So, and with Rank Math, I haven't used that as much. I don't have as much experience, but Yoast I definitely has. And like I would say to anyone who is just starting or even experienced with SEO, it is a great guide. It's just not at the level that I would sort of want to give a client, if that's the best way of saying it. I hope that makes sense, and I don't want to be putting down Yoast because it's a great product.
So diplomatic with your answers. I love it. Okay, so the next question that we have is from Thomas Riley. Some of you might recognize that name. He was our guest in November. So he said, as a small company with limited resources and expertise, sometimes they struggle with other platforms in the past that require significant existing knowledge to get the maximum value. So how does WooRank make some of these, understanding some of these complex topics easier? And do you have any tools that provide educational information along with the actual results? So let me just throw that up there. Obvious WooRank plug, I'll just put as our caption here. Yeah, so what a perfect question, Thomas. It's almost like you staged it so that I could talk about WooRank. For sure, I think, obviously I'm biased because I work here, but I think what really sets us apart is the ability to really dilute some of those super complex issues, especially if you're going through our review, you'll notice that every single one of the criteria is expandable. So if you're looking at it and you're like, oh, what is an XML sitemap? What is a robots.txt? what's a DMARC record, like are these things. If you expand it, you'll see a little synopsis of what it is that we're looking for, but then also how to fix it. 9 times out of 10, that's a WooRank specific guide that we've painstakingly researched, written, and made very accessible for any level of SEO knowledge. If we don't have that content, we're going to point you to somewhere that does. So it's not just like we're throwing a bunch of data at you and saying, good luck, goodbye, like have a good time, let us know if it works. We're always going to be there to kind of hold your hand with it. So educational resources, for sure, we have them coming out of our ears. Like we have so much content that will help you with really implementing any issue that you need to. If you don't find our content useful, we have external resources. If you're still lost, we have tons of support. I mean, our support team is really, really quick to answer. We have Adam, who, I mean, come on, he knows everything that there is to know about SEO. And then there's me, and I pretend to know everything that there is to know. So, so yes, with WooRank, you're very well supported, especially if you are a small company with limited resources. End scene. All right, so next question comes from Roy. Roy is trying to reach the top 3 results in telemarketing and telemeeting in Israel. And for some unknown reason, Roy just can't get there. He also says to have an awesome day. Thanks, Roy.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So, I mean, straight away, telemarketing, telemeeting, those kinds of keywords, they're really competitive. So you're in a competitive field straight off the bat. Too long didn't read. I'm going to say, keep going, work harder at the SEO if you are doing it. I'll expand on this. But remember, it's a marathon and not a sprint. And what I mean by that, really in really down to earth terms is everyone in your area, there are other people doing SEO, obviously. They're all trying to be number one, obviously. But that doesn't mean you should give up or you should stop. It's like a marathon race. There might be 100 people in the race. They all know that there's only going to be one winner, but they all give it their everything anyway, whether they come second, third, or even last. Every guy's clapped through the finishing line, and that's kind of a little bit like SEO. It's this kind of marathon race that, first of all, you have to be determined to participate in. And so what do you do if you're going to run a marathon? You get training. You train every day. You run 5Ks, and you run 10Ks, and you run 20Ks, and then you run the marathon. In SEO terms, even if you did SEO 100% perfectly, you might still come second. And that's just because the guy who beat you is doing it 100% perfectly, but he also did one extra blog maybe, or one extra keyword. The point being that, yes, look, it can be really frustrating, especially if you're not on the first page. But when you're working in a really competitive keyword market, one extra thing you could do is you could try to be a little bit more niche to begin with. So rather than telemarketing, you might say, we specialize in telemarketing in this area of Israel, or this type of telemarketing, for businesses or for corporates, just to make it a little bit more specific, and that will give you a little bit of a head start. But look, don't give up. It's a long race, but you just need to go through it. Follow all the SEO principles, that we talk about, that WooRank can help you do, that all our guides, and you'll get there. And I wish you the best of luck, honestly do.
I wish I could just bottle up that sentiment and just show it to every single person who's ever considered SEO. Yes, if you're not willing to even compete, then there's no point. Obviously someone has to be number one, and why can't it be you? Even if it's not tomorrow, as long as you give it your all, that's really all anybody can ask for, Okay, so next question comes from Sybil. Sybil has 2 sites with items that are very unique, so it's unlikely that people will even search for them. I'm really curious what Sybil's selling. I've had no business in a very long time, can't afford to spend much. What should Sybil do?
Okay. Okay, well, without knowing your products, well, first of all, I would say that if they're really, really specific and unique, that's actually a positive. It's great if there's no one else selling what you've got. Um, Also, just I don't know if you're listening, but if you watch this video back, go to Google and type in whatever it is that you sell, whatever the widget that you sell. Type it into Google. I guarantee you that there's going to be more than one result. It's not just going to be your website. You'll be surprised at even how specific an item that you sell. There's people out there looking for that product. So I actually see you to be in a really strong position. I would go back to something I said earlier too about every single page on your website should be optimized. If you've got these two sites with very unique products and services, I would be working to find out, first of all, what are the other search terms that people might look for your widget? Widget, blue widget, a red widget, and actually create some additional content around these widgets that you're selling. This will kind of give each of your websites more fishing lines in the ocean, more hooks to catch a fish, to catch someone searching. That's going to help your content. It's going to help your the traffic, and it's going to help just the overall performance of your website, which is really the three golden things that you need to do for SEO. So yeah, again, without knowing exactly what you're selling, I can't see it being like a negative that it's really niche. I can only see that being a positive. But of course, if you're in the chat channel, maybe let us know if it's legal, and I can help you some more. But yeah, it sounds to me like you're in an ideal position to dominate the market for your widgets.
Yeah, Sybil, if you're selling something super illegal, please don't put it in the chat.
No, that's right.
Also, Sybil, you did mention a little something about money and some budget constraints, which especially, I mean, in this time, these unprecedented times, like we are very conscious of people maybe not wanting to spend everything on marketing. So if you just email me directly, Courtney at WooRank, we can definitely get you set up with like a pared down version of WooRank, so you're not spending your entire budget. For sure, we can work something out. So Courtney at WooRank, email me if you have any questions. Okay, we have a live question from Tim West. Hi, Tim. So Tim wants to know, if I post a copy of a blog page from our website to somewhere like Medium, how can I avoid the duplicate content issue?
Well, that is the answer is kind of in your question. You can't, because once you post off-site, you no longer control that content. And in fact, I've seen this a lot too. If you own the two domains, it's fine, because you can just set up canonicalization to point back to your original domain. But when you post, or even if someone else takes your content and reposts that on their website, that creates an issue for you. That's someone that's essentially diluting the value of your content. Some of the things, the best recommendations I have when sharing content, because obviously there's a lot of pluses in that, is consider actually writing content purely for distribution. So, whether you call it a press release or a marketing release or something like that, it's really common for businesses to write content that go to other websites and are not copied anywhere else. If you do want to keep it on your website, then what you'd be doing is probably asking the other website to just put like an introduction, and then click here to read more, then it goes back to your website. But that's not going to work in that particular case. So there's no tricks in the book to kind of fix that. It really comes down simple. Google's going to find the piece of content twice, and it's not going to be happy. So yeah, you need to write different content, or ask Medium if they'll set up canonicalization for you. There's always that. And then you'll get all the juice. So, but yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Perfect. And guys, sorry about the echo earlier. I just got a text from one of my Woo friends that it was a little echoey, so I'm very sorry about that. No, it was my fault. I forgot to mute my microphone because I was just so intrigued with your answer. I forgot. All right, so the next question I just kind of put in for fun so we could have a little fun with it. So can I win SEO with WooRank, and can I have it for free? I'll go ahead and answer the second part of the question. No. You can't have it for free. I mean, we have plenty of free resources if you want to toggle those together and read up on title tags and meta descriptions and take up the rest of your marketing time learning it on your own. But free, we have a 2-week free trial.
Yeah.
So you can enjoy that. And Adam, can he win SEO with WooRank?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can. You can definitely win SEO. Yeah, in a funny way and in a serious way. Yes, you can. Just send me a check for $1 million and I'll let you know how that's done.
Yes, $1 million, not free. Yeah, next question, we actually do have a live question from Branislav. So, hi, I'm starting a new SaaS product, $3.90 per user per month, and my problem is that Google Ads is very expensive. So what's the best way to promote the new SaaS product?
Yeah, look, good point. And, that's a very, I was just talking about this with a client today who also sells a product online. Fortunately for them, they have a very high profit margin. So when they sell their product, let's just say they make a couple $1,000s. So they can afford to spend $100, $200 on Google to get a conversion. That makes sense. But if and you said you were selling it for $3.99. Is that $3.99 per month, or?
I think so. It says $3.90 or €3.90.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where you're located, but
that's going to be really hard to justify spending $1.50 a click on Google Ads. Look, I'm an organic marketer through and through. Of course, I've used AdWords, but I would honestly try to point you back to promoting your SaaS product online and really pushing it through social, which is part of SEO these days, and doing it all the organic ways, because that energy that you put into that organic work is going to last you a lifetime. Whereas, you pay Google and it starts getting competitive, you can have a small budget and people are they going to click on your links, and there's all sorts of things that could go wrong unless you're making a big profit on a conversion. I wouldn't dabble too much with Google Ads. That would be my advice. Definitely stick with the SEO.
Okay, good. We do have another live question that just came in, but I'm just waiting for Mickey to clarify the question a bit, so we'll get back to that one. Okay, so next one from Matthew Hudden, who we hear from a lot. How important is it to keep information current with the many local business review websites like Yelp, Google, Facebook, Foursquare, Expedia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Should you invest in absolutely everyone you can, or should you only focus on the major players like Facebook and Google?
Okay. It depends on what you've already done. So if you have previously set up like listings, and I kind of get the feeling you have, on Yelp and Foursquare and Facebook and all these other places, all the directories you can find, it's really, really important that you keep them up to date. If you went on this spree and you've set up 25 profiles, you've set up yourself 25 places that you need to keep up to date. It's really important that there's consistency across all your different profiles. This can actually lead, to things whether or not your business and information gets even mentioned in a Google Knowledge Graph, for example, is this consistency of information across the internet. So a couple of notes there too. Don't create each profile by copy and pasting your about page on each one. So they, again, if you've got 25 profiles out there, you need to really write about your business 25 times in a unique and interesting way. The things you need to keep consistent are opening hours. Obviously, your telephone number, contact details, address, the different locations that you have, all those sorts of things need to be all consistent, while the actual description content needs to be unique. So think about that before you go. If you haven't done this yet, think about that before you go and sign up to 25 different places. If you do it right, it will help.
Yeah, that's a pretty good motto for life too. If you do it right,
Yeah.
just do everything right, and you'll be fine. Okay, Matt actually had a second follow-up question as well. Is there any advice that you can provide to businesses who have multiple locations so that customers are not confused about when, where, and how they can visit online and physically to purchase from you? Also, Matt is watching and commenting right now. Also says, thanks for taking the question. Should I remove all of those listings? So
No.
no.
You should update them. I would spend the energy to go and update them all, and certainly not remove them. That would be my short advice. To answer your second question, yeah, dual locations, or even companies that have many locations. First thing you need to do is ensure that for the customer it's a seamless experience when they go to your website. Don't have a pop-up that says, do you want to visit this store or this store? Just go straight in, seamless experience for the customer. However, you will need to have 2 Google My Business locations set up so that Google actually knows that you have 2 physical locations, and that's going to help with your local search in a huge way. And make sure you list the full address and location, and even put little Google Maps on the contact page. I'm sure you've seen it on other websites, a little map and the full address and where that store is. So yeah, it is really important to, from the user's point of view, the user experience, and we'll be talking about this a lot this year, that it's clean and seamless, but it's also very clear to Google that you have 2 physical locations, that you have 2 shop fronts.
Okay, this is so funny. You guys, our audience, you guys are so funny. You always do it the exact same way. It's like radio silence for the first 40 minutes, and then it's like, questions, wait. So Mickey has a question. I'm going to try to clarify. So the first question, server-side caching or plugins for that purpose, what is your take? And then I asked for a little bit of clarification. She said for caching purposes, like images, web pages, to make the page run faster, like Varnish versus WP Total Cache. Do you have a take on that, server side or plugin?
Okay. It comes down to, so yes, and it will come down to cost, because doing it on your website with a plugin from WordPress will cost you next to nothing. If you have got a host that is willing to set up server-side caching and do all the magic stuff for you, fantastic. However, this is something we've mentioned before. There is a third option, and that's to go through a CDN, like a kind of website in the middle, something like Cloudflare, who will do all that for you. So you don't actually have to worry about it, but they'll do all like the minification of your CSS and your JavaScript. They'll do all the caching of images. Even if you take out, I think, the advanced one, they'll even do things like compress your images and all that fancy stuff, so you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, if you can get it done on the server, go for it. But more than likely, it's going to be done at your website level with a plugin on WordPress or through a CDN.
And
I hope that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And Mickey, if you want to learn a little bit more about like the Cloudflare and CDN solution, I believe it was our August webinar. We had a conversation with our CTO, Nils, who did speak a little bit about how to best implement that and what that can actually do for your page load time. Okay, so another live question from Sarah. Hi, Sarah. So Sarah says, if we're migrating our corporate site to a new domain, can anything be done to help SEO from an old site to a new site, keeping in mind that both are going to be live for a while?
Okay. Yes, look. See, when I get asked these sorts of questions, my head just races through very quickly, and I have to then slow my brain down and think, okay, I got to get this out in words, Adam. Get this out in words. Yes. You need to have a really solid strategy in place before you do that. This is a sort of project that can go very wrong very quickly, especially if you're going to have two versions up at the same time. This is kind of like the sentence has, sent shivers down my spine because that's all the red flags. So what you really need to do is, I'm just going to say, like, if you guys can get some professional SEO consultancy right at the beginning, you'll probably save yourself thousands of dollars in repairing things later on. A few hours spent with an SEO consultant up front, whether it's in person or online, they'll be able to give you a really solid strategy, a checklist of things to do to, first of all, minimize any potential risk. But not only that, but take advantage of this move. I'm assuming you're moving because you've got a better domain, or there's some positive reason. So to play on that and to get the most from that move. Moving a website is like moving a house. One of the most unpleasant things in the world to do, but worth it when you get in the new house. So yeah, I hope that helps.
So Sarah, if Adam's answer has sufficiently terrified you, I've put his email address in the chat because Adam would be a great person to have a consultation with, and he also does provide SEO services specifically for this type of project. So he's a good person to start with. If he's already scared you a lot, then we also have the WooRank experts that you could take a look at. All right, so next question. Did I already do this one? From Matthew? Yes, we already talked about Matt. Okay, so from Crystal, are there any, what are the best tools for SEO? Any videos or YouTube SEO techniques and tips? Oh, Crystal, you're watching one right now.
Yeah, that's true. Look, there's a lot of great tools. And so let's start with tools. Of course, Google Search Console. It's actually my favorite tool, more than analytics. I'll just put that out there. But obviously, Google Search Console, Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, and the new GA4. WooRank, a great tool. I've been using WooRank, myself before joining the team. I was using it for 6+ years in a teaching capacity, and it was fantastic because it was simple and straightforward. So tools. There's some great starts. Resources, you mentioned it. YouTube has a lot of videos. I would start, though, before you go down the rabbit hole on YouTube and you'll end up watching a video, you'll wonder how you got there, but start with the Google Analytics search, the Google Webmaster, the Google Search Central channels. These are like the official Google channels, and you're going to get the best advice from those guys. There's a lot of people on YouTube who claim, to be able to give you the magic answer and give you like the silver bullet. But yeah, I would try and stay away from those. Stick to reliable sources. And in fact, on that, a reliable source, if you use Twitter, follow John Miller. I basically stalked and follow all the Google employees. So every time they talk, I'm just reading what they're typing. And John in particular, he'll actually respond to questions. I don't know how he does it, but he spends a lot of time on Twitter. So these are the good tools and resources. There are tons out there. You did mention techniques and tips. I guess top tips: prioritize content quality over keyword insertion. Don't focus too much on keywords and keyword density. I kind of mentioned it earlier. Follow your competition really closely. Have a look what they're doing on social media and their websites, and just only ever focus on positive SEO. Don't ever get dragged into sort of the black hat or the grey hat world of SEO, where you read these tricks. Oh, if you do this, you can, your competitors will lose rankings. Just focus on positive SEO and these tools and resources. And yeah, if you have great content, that's what it's really going to come down to is that content. So yeah.
Definitely. I think we say it in just about every webinar, but you get what you pay for. So if someone is coming up to you and saying, hey, I can make you number one on Google for 50 cents, all you need to do is like name your firstborn after me and you'll be number one. It's not going to happen. Like they're using black hat techniques, and it's really going to probably hurt your website more in the long run than you even realize. So all right, we don't have any more questions. Do we have? Oh, sorry, there are a couple more questions. So I have in the chat, guys, last call out for some live questions. We're going to take 2 more pre-recorded. So the first one from Anuj: why do some websites have a Google Knowledge Map completed really quickly, even if they're new websites? And some websites that are older don't have any of those like rich results in Google. So why could that be?
Yeah, well, that'll be down to the quality aspect and authority. And again, my mind's racing and I'm trying to slow down. So, websites that have Wikipedia entries have been mentioned in mainstream and non-mainstream media, that have schema markup, that have strong content, not necessarily vast amounts of content, but really up-to-date, reliable content that it's been written recently. Those sorts of things are pretty much going to be more likely to be put onto a knowledge graph. And I'm assuming that's what you meant by knowledge map, is a knowledge graph. I must say though that there's no guaranteed path. There's no like A to Z of how to guarantee yourself a knowledge graph listing as there would be to get a number one position. Guarantee. It takes a lot of work. If you do get a knowledge graph appear for your business, take a screenshot of it, put it up on the wall, and be really proud of that, because that is a sign that Google really, really sees your content as a really positive contribution to the world web. So it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, good answer though. I mean, there's no magic wand or anything, but
No.
but that's what's kind of fun about SEO. Maybe we're just really nerdy and that's why we say stuff like this, but SEO is kind of like this really geeky puzzle that you have to figure out how to put together, and the rules are always changing, but that's kind of what makes it fun, and it makes it an even playing field for people as well, because Google is changing the rules a lot and you never know what their next update might be. Like, your website is perfect for what they're looking for now, so it's really kind of fun to watch it always evolve. Okay, so the last pre-submitted question. Sorry, I muted myself. Between page structure with H1 through H6 tags and internal linking, which one is more effective?
Okay. Well, can I use an analogy? If you have a car and you've got a broken steering wheel and you've got a broken gas pedal, which one should you fix first? I mean, I'm not trying to be facetious. Maybe I'm a little bit, but I'm not trying to be. You fix both. Both of them are really important to make your website perform and function. Correctly using the heading tags is super important. Correctly having internal linking set up is really important for Google to be able to crawl the website. So if you implement only one of those, I don't know why you would only implement one, because both are relatively about as time consuming as the other. And in fact, if you're going to be going through the page and doing the internal linking, you can be doing the headings at the same time. So yeah, it's definitely do both. Don't just pick one thing. Do is optimize that whole page, go through the checklist, and get it all done. So yeah, do both.
Awesome. Well, we don't have any more questions in the chat or from our little cheat sheet here, so I guess we'll say goodbye. But before we do, I just wanted to quickly, for everybody that tuned in late, again, we did promise that we would have a prize or something like that for anybody that had the correct password that emailed me. So I'm going to throw that up on the screen again. Password is Canonical. and email me directly at Courtney@WooRank.com. Adam, thank you for staying awake for us. I know this is a little bit later than we normally do it, but thank you very much again for all of your wisdom. Everyone who's watching, I'm sorry about the echo. I don't know what's going on with that. It's whenever I unmute myself, there's a little bit of an echo. It's because, this little personal anecdote, my cat destroyed my headphones about an hour before this webinar, so I had to run to the night shop and get these $5 beauties here. So I think that might be what's going on. Anyway, so I look forward to hearing from anybody that's interested in getting a little Woo prize, and we'll see you again next month. Don't forget, look out for our email on Core Web Vitals. And that's it for us. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
I can never figure out how to end this thing. Oh, finish. Okay, bye.